Hi, this is Rabbi Chaim Kaufman. Welcome to our 241st installment in the Torah portion of the week. We are holding by Parshas Noach. Parshas Noach, second Parsha in the book of Genesis, speaks about the flood, right? Lot to talk about the flood. Speaks about as well the rebuilding of a ruined world. Talks about the covenant. The rainbow speaks about him getting drunk, the descendants of Noach, the Dora Flaga, the generation of the dispersion. A lot to talk about over here. Comes along the Torah itself. Chapter 9, verse 20. What does the Torah tell me? It says, Noach was a man of earth, debased himself, planted a vineyard. Drank the wine, became drunk, uncovered himself within his tent, and then the whole story. Of a curse in the younger son, the older sons cover him up. What's going on over here? Right? The Torah seems to say, okay, Noach got saved. The only people he was able to save were his family. He didn't do chesed with his generation, acts of loving kindness, try and save everyone else, like Abraham. So, why do you get drunk over here? What's the deal? What's the deal with drinking? So, the Torah says, right, let's just quote it again. The Torah says he debased himself and planted a vineyard. Right? Not very good. What's the obvious question? Beginning of the Parsha says that Noach is righteous. If he's righteous, why is he planting a vineyard and getting plastered? Now, we have to understand in hindsight, Noach is pleading with everybody. He's building an ark for 120 years. Noach pleads. He tells everyone, hey, Noach, what are you doing? I'm building an ark. So why are you building an ark? There's going to be a flood. They look up. San Diego weather, 75 and sunny all year round. Going to be a flood? Come on. So what did Noah say? Oh, he'll die. And the other one will die. He doesn't try and convince them. So, the flood comes. He runs into the ark. Got the animals in the ark, got his family in the ark. Travels here, there. Destroys the world. Exactly as God said. Comes out of the ark. Now what does he do? Builds an altar. Gives thanks to the Creator above. But then the Torah tells me he plants a vineyard. He gets plastered. He debased himself. If he's so righteous, how can he do it? You tell me, look what he went through. The whole world destroyed. I'm sure he had friends, family members, besides his immediate family. He wanted them to be saved, but they wouldn't be convinced. Not that he tried. He didn't convince them. It's a heavy weight on somebody. Imagine, sees everything wiped out. Family, friends. So one aspect of it is, couldn't take it. It was too hard. He's happy he survived. He's happy his family survived. But in general, what can he do? And he's depressed, seemingly. Right? Very hard to understand in general. So what did he do? Essentially, he wants to numb the pain. It's what drugs do. It's what alcohol does. But even so, there are two ways to look at every situation. Usually. And even if it's bad, could be really bad. Question is, what am I going to do now? How am I going to deal with things now? Do I say, woe to me, I should be pitied, look what happened. We're talking about real trauma. Now, I'm not going to say, well, pick yourself up, move on. Doesn't work that way. Person's going to be traumatized for life. Person bullied. They never get over it. Very hard to get over. Therapy, other things, very hard. That there's no question. Or do we say, you're right, it's tragic, I have to get help how to deal with it, but I want to live a normal life. I want to go beyond what's happened to me over here. Someone will say, you're not living in reality. You don't know what a person's been through. You're right. I agree. Is every trauma overcomable? No. Maybe not. And God's not going to make you liable for why you spit in his face if you don't do what he says. But even through tragedy, can't people still reach potential, great potential, despite what they've been through? Possible. I didn't say easy. Possible. Well, the question is, what do we want to do? Do we want to have a lot of self-pity? Just get beaten down? And struggle through life? Or do we take the bull by the horns and say, I'm not going to let this destroy me? Now again, people will take me to task and say, it's not black and white. So I'll agree with you. It's not black and white. It's not, oh, just go for therapy, it'll help. Sometimes very hard. Sometimes therapy may not help. 100%. But does a person become a recluse? Or does he rebuild? Does he try and rebuild? There are stories after the Holocaust, families destroyed, communities. How are they going to rebuild the ones that survived? What do many people want to do? Escape. That's what they wanted to do. But others understood. What's their primary responsibility? That is to rebuild what has been lost. Now these are the real heroes. Someone who had a tattoo on their arm, and they lost their families. They lost communities. They didn't wallow in self-pity. They could have. Could have not been religious. And we'd have no claim against them for what they've been through. But some felt they had an obligation to rebuild what was lost. And they saw their lives blessed with children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. Day schools, yeshivas, Jewish institutions. And they created and helped create vibrant Jewish communities. We have many other people that suffered. Lost jobs, terrible diseases, families torn apart, no longer intact, and all kinds of things we're afraid of. Terrorism, COVID, many things. So now the question is, what do we do? How do we react? Do we rise to the challenge? Or don't we? Now a person's going to say, guaranteed, you're out of line. You haven't been in someone's shoes. Rav Dessler, blessed memory, says if you've never been in anyone's shoes, you can't judge what that person's gone through. True? Very true. But what's the bottom line? When things happen, even if they're traumatic, the bottom line is, how does the person react? Which way do they go? Do they feel sorry for themselves? Wallow in self-pity for however long? Or hopefully they get the help they need and they lead productive lives. Does that mean they don't struggle every day? No, it doesn't mean that. Does that mean they have it easy? Doesn't mean they have it easy. We're not whitewashing. We're not saying take this green pill, everything's going to be good. You're going to feel better. It's still there. It's pain. Some of that pain may never go away because of the damage it's done. Very reasonable, very understandable. At the same time, somehow, given our resources, we can even overcome. Give an example. There's a story that happened 20 years ago. Story of Seth and Sherry Mendel. Now, these two people, they're ordinary people. Seemingly ordinary people. And they made a choice to rebuild in the face of devastating loss. What happened? So May 8th, 2001, their son Kobe was 13, and his friend Yosef Ishran was 14. They take the day off from school, and they explore a canyon outside their neighborhood in Jerusalem. And what happened? Group of Arab terrorists found them, trapped them in the cave, beat them to death with rocks. Can you imagine the pain? Not only what they went through, what the parents went through. What do the Mandels do? They transform their tragedy into something of a greater good for the world around them. The tremendous grief, Sherry Mandel said, you know what they saw? They saw they weren't alone. They saw there were other families and children needed help. So they wanted to help. Don't make any mistake and think, they're going to wallow in self-pity. they're going to keep the pain. They had the pain. The pain was there. You don't think they missed their child? Of course they missed their child. So they created a camp for children whose relatives had died in terrorist attacks. So the camp now brings 600 children together for 2 to 3 weeks a year, or 3 or 4 days at a time. Not only that, Mrs. Mandel founded a program for grieving mothers who often don't have the chance to process the loss because of their myriad day-to-day responsibilities, taking care of their families. So she said the camp is the happiest place because when you hit the lowest of lows, she didn't say the lowest of lows disappear. But when you hit the lowest of lows, you can reach an even greater joy. Because now you know how great happiness is. So now, what's the question? You see an unbelievable thing. Now, these are 2 quote-unquote ordinary people. Son died tragically. No question about it. They have a place for grieving mothers to go. Summer camp for families. So what's the question here? The question is, in the base of tragedy, do I escape or do I rebuild? And we face it whenever we have any setbacks, failures, tragedies. Now, escape is very tempting. Right? I just lose myself. Lose my senses. Very nice. I don't have to remember who I am. What I'm going through. But you know what? That really shouldn't be an option. The path to greatness is moving forward to renew and rebuild. It's not saying, wow, look what happened in the world. Look at this. Oh, take another swig. Can't deal with it. The path to greatness is moving forward. But you can say, Rabbi, it might take years to move forward. Very well could. Very well could. But how did these people do what they did? How do people who lost their family in front of their face have a child die in this way? How did they rebuild? Because they saw they didn't have any other option. Going down that path, not an option. Does it mean someone who moves forward or tries to move forward, they're just passing off and going through the motions? I don't think so. At some level, they've made peace with it. At some level. Doesn't mean 100% it disappears, and it doesn't mean they're passing the buck. Because that would be easy. Oh, get involved in this, get involved in that. Don't process what happened. That's not what we're saying. Not at all. Sherry Mandel set up this thing for women so they could process the loss. Because women are busy with their families. That's not called passing the buck. That's called dealing with it in a wholesome way. Now, make no mistake. Person's going to need to work hard over here. Person goes through trauma. Person's like, wow, you move forward. You must not have dealt with it properly. You must just have ignored it. I don't know how you ignore certain things. Well, it's very easy to numb it. Easy. Take another swig. More drugs. That's how we numb pain. Numbing pain does not deal with pain. And dealing with pain could affect in many different ways. Many, many different ways. You think at the beginning for them, they had it so easy? They just started this whole thing? Sure, it wasn't easy. But it gave them a lifeline to help others. And it helped thousands of people. So you say people like that, and people survived the Holocaust that did this, raised families and all that, and overcome, they're the real heroes. Not us. Come on. This doesn't happen to us. We're not the real heroes. Why not? Because what did we say before? What did we say before? We said that the path to greatness lies in moving forward to renew or rebuild. Renew and rebuild. That's the path to greatness. It doesn't mean you pass the buck. It doesn't mean you don't deal with it. Dealing with it is very hard. I'm not coming to second guess it. Not at all. The question is how we deal with it. How is a person able to overcome? This way you don't overcome. Because what do? You numb it. Like Novocaine. Person getting, work done on their teeth. Gonna have Novocaine. Numb it. So you don't feel it. So some people just numb the pain. But it doesn't mean the pain goes away. The only thing happens is the numbness wears off. And then what? Need more. Then need more. The power to move forward, not easy. Definitely not easy. But in the end, what happens if a person doesn't move forward? Then we can see what happened to Noah. As great as he was, he got depressed, seemingly. Disheartened by the world being destroyed. So what did he do? Wanted to chill. Numb himself a little bit. Because he looked around the new world. The old world, gonzo. Think it was easy for Noach? No, I don't think so. So the question is for us, which way do we want to go? We want to rebuild? Or we want to go the other way? Right? That is the question. We want to escape? Or we want to rebuild? And hopefully we want to rebuild. But we have to know how to deal with the pain. And somehow we have to move forward. Because if you don't move forward, you stay in the past, you stay in the past. You live in the past. There is no future. So someone will say, Rabbi, it's very easy for you. You haven't gone through the pain. You haven't felt the pain. You know what it's like to go from riches to rags overnight? Anyone understand what that is? I understand what that is. Because it happened to me. And I'm still here standing. Was it easy over the last 20 years? No. Not at all. Ups, downs. Probably more downs than ups. Got slaughtered all over the place. Did I once say, God forbid, why'd you do this to me? What was worth the mitzvahs that I did? No, you do that, you lose everything. You don't spit in God's face. For one thing. If you've had it good for so long. The question is how you pick yourself up. How you raise yourself up and still stay on top and function. Anyone who's ever gone through this, it's a trauma. There's no question. Not tooting my own horn here by any stretch. The reality is, a conscious choice was made. Very early on. Could have been very upset. Cursed out a bunch of people. Cursed God, God forbid. But in the end, gotta remember where it all comes from. Gotta thank the Creator for everything we have. Every last thing that we have. Now, does that mean someone goes through something like that? That's easy? Not easy. Not easy. I'm not going to go through any of the details. No one would believe the details. Things that were said, kicked in the head, in the face, when you're down. Not even going to go through that. Because sometimes God wants to knock you down. Knocks you down in a major way. Major way. If I wasn't so strong in Jewish philosophy, didn't have good rabbis behind me, yeah. Very would have easily been depressed. Easily. But what's that going to get me? What's that going to get my family? That's not going to do anything to bring the money back. So I'm not speaking from non-experience. Now, other people might have other experiences. But in the end, the question is how we deal with it. How we're able to move forward. And the real heroes are the ones that can move forward somehow. Because they don't let it take them down. And they don't let it destroy them. I want to remind everyone to give a class on Duties of the Heart every Tuesday, 9 o'clock Eastern Time, where it goes to the gate of self-accounting. I do Book of Leviticus chapter 15 every Sunday, 9 o'clock Eastern Time, 4 o'clock Israel Time. I have 2 Q&As every Tuesday, Thursday, 10 o'clock Eastern Time, 5 o'clock Israel Time. Tanakh Talk every Sunday. We're back now doing it on Sunday. 12:30 Eastern Time, 7:30 Israel Time. Pirkei Avos every Saturday, 2 o'clock Eastern Time, 9 o'clock Israel Time. Conversion classes. Anyone interested in any of this, you can find me on Facebook at Michael Chaim Kaufman. Different place because I got banned. Right, my other profile, still trying to get it back. Right, so on Facebook, find me at Michael Chaim Kaufman. Find me at orthodoxconversion.com. Or you can send me an email, rabbichaimkaufman@gmail.com, RABBICHAIMCOFFMAN @gmail.com.